What's up, party people? We're back. I didn't finish anything this week again, except more Flannery O'Connor, so I read a short story by her, and also got halfway through Charles Dickens's Great Expectations, and then I also have a short book haul, so let's dive right in. So first up, we have a beautiful soft cover. It's got some great flop on it, which I love, of course. The covers are like paper, like cardstock. Yeah, it's got like a smooth finish. I don't know. I'm talking more about the physical properties of the book than the contents. So I don't know what that says. But anyways, this is 3 Plays by Sean O'Casey. The entire book haul from today I got at a thrift store that was like $1 a book. So I was a little more liberal in my spending than I normally would have been if they were like $5-6 a book. So yeah, I don't really know too much about Sean O'Casey, but aside from the fact that he's Irish, clearly with a last name like O'Casey, how can you not be Irish? But anyways, great flop on this. So yeah, looking forward to reading this, even if it's not that good. It'll feel good to hold it while I read it. Next up, we've got another Irish guy. This is Joyce Carthy, okay? The Horse's Mouth. Now, I don't really know too much about Joyce Carthy either, aside from that he's Irish. But when you see this edition, this Green Penguins Classics, hard to go wrong, I think. So apparently it's about an artist who kind of rejects conventional morality, so that should be interesting. The cover is kind of strange. He has the oddest physiognomy of all time. I don't know if it's focusing there, but yeah. Yeah, anyways, weird guy. Next up, we've got Ibsen. Now, Ibsen's a guy you always see at the thrift store, okay? He's a playwright, early 19th century, kind of known for bringing in modernism into theater. I have never read anything by him. I've never bought any Ibsen, even though I see him all the time. Norwegian guy, kind of born into a well-to-do family, and lots of famous stuff by him. He was not a one-hit wonder. He had, yeah, lots of good stuff that's well-remembered. So I think this volume has quite a few of his famous works in it. So A Dollhouse, The Wild Duck, and Hedda Gabler, I think are among his more famous works. I'm not sure about The Master Builder, the last one on there. That one may or may not be, but yeah. So interested to read some of this guy. Not a bad flop on this one either, but much more stiff than the O'Casey. So yeah, might put this one lower down on the reading list. Just kidding. But yeah, and I mean, plays are fun to read too because they're shorter. It's not as big of a commitment. It's like not quite a short story, but like not a novel either, you know. They're not too bad. You can get through them pretty quick. So yeah, I like that about it. Quick intercession here in between our classic novels, but we have here Hatchet by Gary Paulson. Saw this one and I had to snag it. Read this as a kid, watched the movie. I think there's a movie on it. Anyways, I liked it as a kid, you know. How can you not, as a young boy? Kind of a masculine coming-of-age story where he survives in the wilderness with nothing but a hatchet, hence the title. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's in an ugly modern paperback, but you can't really blame it because I think it was probably published early 2000s. Oh man, the text in here is massive. And you can see through the pages. Look at that. You can see the text on like the upcoming pages. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I can see the text on the next page through this page. That's terrible. Wow. Anyways, yeah, what year was this published here? I'm guessing like 2004. Let's see. Oh no, I'm wrong. It's older than that. 87. Wow, 87. So a bit older than I thought. Next up, we've got Tom Jones by Henry Fielding, or is that the other way around? Henry Fielding by Tom Jones. It's kind of ambiguous. Tom Jones is the name of the book, okay, and the author's name is Henry Fielding. This is a pretty famous book, I believe. I'm looking forward to it. It should be funny. It's supposed to be funny. It's about a slightly wild and feckless country boy with a weakness for young women. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I haven't had the patience or discipline to take off this sticker off the front cover. Now it says $3.99, but it was not $3.99. It was $1. Now, if I can get this off. Some stickers come off really nice, you know, and some of them do not. I know the Value Village stickers they put on books, they have like cuts in the sticker. It's like intentionally trying to make it difficult to pull off. Like you try to pull it and it like rips because it has the cuts in it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're a lucky person, but anyone who's shopped at Value Village will know those stickers are super annoying, and this one is so old it's not coming off. I'm completely butchering that. It's like, yeah, I'll get back to that later. I'm not gonna bore you, unless you're already bored, in which case, can't help you. Next up and last up for the book haul, we have a lucky one here. Okay, now this one, I had already looked through all the shelves. I had the stuff I've previously went over. I was leaving, and you know, at thrift stores they have like a cart they push around, and they use that cart to stock the shelves. Well, the attendant had left the cart in the aisle, and there was books at the bottom, so I quickly rifled through them, and at the very bottom of the cart, under the bottom of the book stack, was this. So I got lucky with this one, and this is George Louis Borges' Collected Fictions. Now I know I'm anglicizing the name there because I speak English, so that's how I pronounce it. I would imagine that if you are a native Spanish speaker, as I assume this guy is, I'm not sure where he's from, somewhere in South America, Buenos Aires. Is that South or Central America? I don't know. Anyways, that's Spanish. You would say it's something like Jorge Luis Borges. Yeah, for me, that's George Louis Borges. So anyways, this is his Collected Fictions. It looks really good. The only thing I've ever read by him is, oh, I'm gonna butcher it now. What is it called? It's like the Infinite Library, or no, the Library of Babel. That's right. Yeah, it's a famous thought experiment / short story. I read it last year. I kind of forget exactly what happens, but the basic concept is they're like trapped inside this like giant library that's like infinite basically, and it has like every possible combination of letters in it in the English alphabet. So there's people in there that like go around like looking for like the sacred script or something like that. Like there's like cults inside the library. It's pretty cool. So if that is indicative of his writing ability, then I'm imagining the rest of this will be very good. So I'm looking forward to eventually digging into this. Not gonna lie, not super high on my reading list, but anyways, yeah, pretty cool book. So I was glad to find this, again, for $1. That's crazy. And it's in good condition, too, other than the fact that, for some reason, this very first page is, like, cut. I don't even see that. It's, like, not... They cut the top off of it. So that's kind of weird. I'm not sure why you do that. But, yeah, otherwise, good condition, so can't complain. Now, what did I read this week? So, first up, we'll talk about Great Expectations by Dickens. I'm only halfway through, so I can't speak. I'm not even quite, like maybe a third, so I can't speak to all of it. But I read this when I was like junior high. Totally forget what happens. I had good memories of it though, so there's that. I think probably a lot of it went over my head back then, because the writing is unmistakably English, and not English in the sense of the language, but in the sense of British. So a lot of I don't know, not euphemisms, but like the syntax. It's not American English, the syntax and like the grammar and stuff. So, which I know I appreciate about it. It's good to read. So far we've got a little boy named Pip, and Pip grows up and he I don't even know how to summarize. He has some run-in with a convict that is going to come back later, I'm assuming, because not really much has happened since then. He's to be apprenticed to his what would you even call it? It's his sister's husband, so his brother-in-law, which is much older than him. He's to be apprenticed to him in the forge, or the smithy. The smithy. He's going to be a blacksmith. But he randomly gets called to this lady's house to play with her granddaughter, and the granddaughter's very pretty, but she's kind of the landed class, or she's a gentle lady. Is that a real thing? A gentlewoman. So she despises him because he's coarse and he's a peasant boy, and kind of this puts the idea in his mind that he hates his common upbringing, and eventually the old lady kind of leaves him some money, and he gets his dream of becoming a gentleman, and he's leaving his common village or family to pursue this great expectation of being a gentleman, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. He's just leaving for London. So that should be... I'm looking forward to reading the rest of that. For some reason, I have memory from junior high of somebody getting lost in a cave in this book. I'm not sure if that's the same book at all. I could be thinking of something totally different, but anyways, that just came to mind. Lastly, I've been going like a mile a minute here. Lastly, we've got Flannery O'Connor. I read the second short story in this collection, which is called The Barber. And if you remember last week, we talked about the geranium and how race played a role in that, but it wasn't the central role, and it'd be a misreading to kind of focus on race. It happens again in the second story. So I don't know if this is like a common theme for all of Flannery O'Connor, or if it just was at the beginning of her career. and this collection's in chronological order, so that's why it happens twice in a row. Not too sure. But again, race plays a prominent role in the second story, but again, it's not part of the central theme. It's just kind of, it helps the world building, kind of. It's like part of the setting. So Flannery O'Connor was living in the South at the time, and I forget when she wrote, I think like early 20th century, right? So that would be like post-slavery, but pre-civil rights movement, right? My American history is not very good, so I could be wrong on that. But anyways, yeah, so in this story, basically what happens is that there's this guy, he's at a barbershop, and the guy at the barbershop is a Democrat. And he's a professor. He's a little bit more soft-spoken and maybe not as assertive, but he's intelligent. And his barber, who is kind of more portrayed as like a blue-collar, like maybe ignorant, but what's the word? Kind of bubbly and extroverted. This barber, he kind of like Pip, a little bit coarser, part of the lower class. Anyways, he votes. It's not explicitly said, but for this other candidate that's running against the Democratic candidate, so the Republican candidate, and this other fat man in the barbershop also kind of agrees with the barber, but they don't really give good reasons why they vote for their person. They just kind of go quote his speeches, and they just like him as a person, right? And so the Republican candidate, I think his name is Mr. Hawk or something like that. He's made out to be this kind of a demagogue, right? He kind of just appeals to like common prejudices and a bit of a populist, right? Not that I use that word with disdain, but that's what he is, right? And so the guy that in the barbershop that is the Democrat, the professor, he gets into several arguments over the next few times he visits the shop, and he eventually gets goaded into promising to come back and like give coherent arguments for why he votes for what he votes for. And so he types up this script. It's very difficult for him. He stumbles over his words, but he eventually gets it a script made. He reads it to his friend. Now I'm going to forget the friend's name here. It starts with a J. Let's see if I can find it. It is Jacobs, I think. Yeah, he also votes Democrat. He's one of the main character's friends, and but he has totally different approach to the conversation than our protagonist here. And the protagonist, he gets all kind of in a tizzy about all this stuff, but Jacobs is kind of just, he's like, I don't argue with these people, like it is what it is. But anyways, our protagonist reads his script that defends his beliefs to Jacobs and to his wife, and they're kind of just like, meh, they don't really care too much. I mean, we never actually get to see the script anyways, but that's not really the point, right? He goes back to the barbershop, delivers his speech. They're all kind of like making fun of him, and he kind of stumbles over his words, and he's constantly perplexed by the fact that these Republican voting lower class blue collar people can just think up of dumb answers at the top of their head as to why their candidate is correct, and he's kind of over intellectualizing, and he struggles to like rebut their points, even though he intuitively intuits that they're incorrect. And so he kind of at the end of the story kind of runs out of the barbershop, even though he delivered what he thought was a good speech, and they agree it's a good speech, but they don't believe him, right? Or their minds are not changed, right? They kind of just like make fun of him a little bit, and he runs out of the barbershop, and again in a tizzy. Now, like I said before, race plays a prominent role in the short story, with the Republican candidates kind of, or I shouldn't say the Republican candidate. Yes, actually, my mistake. The I can't talk today. I'm going too fast. The Republican candidate and the barbershop and the fat man, the people who all vote Republican, they are kind of down on the black population. Whereas the guy in the story, the Democrat, and his friend Jacobs, they are not. But again, I think that would be a misreading to focus on that. And I also think you could like misread the story by focusing too much on the fact that the Republican voting people are portrayed as like lower class and kind of more ignorant, whereas the Democratic person is more intelligent, but maybe less assertive. Again, I think focusing on that would be a misreading. I don't think here that O'Connor is trying to say something about the political parties or about the races. I think she's trying to say something about human nature and about the way that we form our beliefs and the way we interact with people that don't agree with us. Now, again, the way she writes is so good and so nuanced that it's difficult to like tease apart exactly what she's trying to say with each story. I forget who said this, but the quote, it might have been Northrop Frye, or it might have been Northrop Frye quoting somebody else, but basically the quotation was something like, well, the poem only means exactly what it says, right? Like there might not be an ulterior motive, and even if there was some sort of underlying meaning, you don't understand the poem better if you understand the underlying meaning, right? You understand the poem better if you understand the poem itself. And of course, the idea of poem can be extended to any sort of work of art. But yeah, anyways, the themes she's exploring in that short story are, how we interact with people that we don't agree with, and how we kind of form our own beliefs and defend them to others. And it seems to me that she's kind of arguing that you shouldn't argue with other people, and you should just kind of respect them and get along with them even though you don't agree. Because when you start talking politics, people just talk right past each other, and there's no productive conversation that really occurs. So in that case, no need to get in a tizzy like our protagonist, but rather just chill out and just be friends with people and respect their desire to vote otherwise. Which, that kind of message would hold particular potency in today's political climate, which is extremely, radicalized and kind of at each other's throats all the time. So, yeah, maybe more people should read this short story, The Barber, although they might get turned off a little bit by the language. But it is a product of its time, and I don't think we should censor. I'm very anti-censorship, so I don't think you should change these stories just because they use language that was appropriate 100 years ago. But yeah, anyways, that's all I did this week. I'm back full-time at work, so I may not be able to keep up this pace. This is a relentless pace every week. It's not so bad. I just won't be able to read as much between every video. So I might be heavily relying on these short stories in order to have something to talk about every week. But anyways, that's about it. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next one. Next week, on the next one, next time. See you next time.